mate. How are ya?
Boys, fantastic. All the better for seeing you two.
Mate.
Looking $1 million. Jesus.
Our coach, our mentor.
Nice to see you.
First time actually meeting you in person, actually.
Well, that's the benefit of Zoom. I actually took a few minutes to realise that. I hadn't
Yeah.
actually physically met you before, but it's a pleasure.
You actually got a bit more muscle on you than I thought you did.
Mate, I try and just play it down online. I'm all about building others up. I don't need to get the rig out.
Yeah.
But, mate, 20 years of bodybuilding, it sort of, I was saying to someone the other day, like, who was right into bodybuilding years ago and now he's a property guy, but like I actually haven't trained with weights since COVID version 1.0, the first lockdown. Like,
Really?
Because I went, fucking too hard, like lockdown, what do you do? So I did, one morning, I never forget, I got up sort of 4:30 and I looked, the dogs are like sleeping and they're like, what's going on here? And I'm like, right, hey, 20 push-ups, let's go. And I did some pull-ups under the table and I looked at this one and I go, fuck, that'll do. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I've had enough Friday, that'll do. Nah, feel good. That was it. And it's funny because it's like everything, if you do a lot of, my diet and bodybuilding comps and like you keep a lot of, well, I'm 25 kilos lighter than I was then. Thank God I looked like a stocking full of walnuts, mate. It was terrible when I look back at it. But you keep the shape and the shape, but you're just a lot smaller and you can fit into clothes and ride horses and, live your life. But yeah, it's interesting.
So you don't work out, in terms of physical activity, you obviously ride horses. Do you do any other physical activity at all?
I just walk the dogs, run around with them and, run around with the dogs for, say, an hour a day, and horses, that'd be a few hours a day. And it's actually funny with horses that if you ride properly, you do get, it's not like an aerobic workout going for a run or lifting heavy weights, but every part of you is sort of flexing, relaxing. Like it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you're getting a workout, but it's all diet. Like, I just eat fairly well get my ready to go meals. I get delivered, whack them in the microwave, done and dusted. I'm all about efficiencies, boys, as you know, with my coaching and like life hacking things. My mindset, my brain function, my meals, I hate just doing shit that I don't like.
When's the last time you cooked?
Mate, 1981. I remember it vividly. No, mate, I fucking hate cooking. So I don't enjoy it. Some people go, it's therapeutic. I think it's the greatest waste of time on the history of Earth. Because you got to get it. But that's me. So again, like, if you don't like it, I just see it as opportunity cost alarm.
Yeah.
Like 40 minutes for like 4 minutes. The ROI is terrible. The only thing worse with the worst ROI than that's having a bender. Like one night I'm feeling like dog shit for a month.
Yeah.
I had a client that this morning. 1 month he felt shit after a big night out on the sauce still. And we traced it all back and it was only just on the piss at a wedding, but I said, okay, so when did you start to do that? When did you lose your routine? When did you, about 3 weeks ago. I said, you can see the one. He goes, mate, I can't, that's unbelievable. Like the contrast in his like up here to there is so powerful. And
That's
really,
spot on.
if you have 1,000 drinks, yeah.
Well, it takes me a few days to cover. It's the one thing that I've learned actually growing up and getting older is you don't recover in a day. So
No, mate.
we had my director's wedding last week, and I couldn't pull it off. Like I had to call in sick for 2 days straight, cancel all my appointments. My momentum shifted, and it's now gotten to the point where I'm actually starting to have some momentum again. But that's what day are we at? That's a week and a half ago.
Wow.
More
How
than a
old
week
are
and a
you?
half ago. Just turned 27.
27, right. Writing about $20 million a year, killing it. Absolute superstar. But this is something for everyone listening. Look, I'm 45. I was loose, Wolf of Wall Street, hanging from the chandeliers, everything. But, and you can't take it back, and I wouldn't ask to take it back, and I wouldn't change it. But as cliche as it is, if someone can somehow find the intestinal fortitude to stop it sooner, you fucking kill it. There's no two ways about it. Now, I didn't. I fucking finally put the Q in the rack at 40 via rehab and NA and AA and fucking getting booted out of everywhere. But doesn't mean it's best practice. And I reckon, again, I didn't do it, so I'm not judging. I kept the party going and it gained momentum at 30 with body trim, right? Because that went into the stratosphere and so did the lifestyle. And pretty sure I built Ivy Pool with my credit card. Now that level, thanks, Justin. You can just send me a thank you card for that. crazy spending, it just disease of more and all that shit. But if you can curb that young, because the platform and all my clients are high achiever syndrome, as you know, I call it, and we're extreme. You can't build a phenomenal business poking at it and going, oh, maybe I'll do a bit. I don't know many really high achievers who go, I'll just have one beer.
Yeah.
I'm sure they exist. I just don't know them. Like they're not really the one beer person. They don't really just have a little one beer. They have 1,000, or because whatever we do, we just dive in.
Yeah.
So don't spend your whole life thinking you can just, if you're not a one beer person, don't spend your whole life trying to be.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people do, right? And I just went, you know what? I'm officially not, as I was escorted to rehab from the Mondrian Hotel in LA, spraying those big champagnes on people. You know, that I don't recall.
So what changed? What happened? Was it one particular thing that put you on a course of sobriety? So you've been sober for how many years now?
Nearly 5.5 years.
5.5 years. So you're obviously a loose unit, like you said, and you've completely changed as a person. What was it? Was it one thing or was it multiple things?
Oh, mate, it was the sum of all parts. It was like, I consider myself fairly intelligent, and if you had a little bit of a look in the rear view mirror, there was a path of carnage. And as I say in a few keynotes, I often say, like, millionaire at 25, broken living with dad at 30, so millionaire 25, broke living with dad at 30, $40 million business at 35, and bankrupt an AA at 40, bankrupt an AA, NA at 40, wanting to neck myself. And then at 45, happiest, most alive, living, enthusiastic I've ever been. I was never that. I was never happy or enthusiastic. I was always like getting there, going good, but I need that. When Body Trim was 30 plus million, I'm looking at a mob in America going, this is fucked, we're only 30 million, we've got to do more. And don't worry about the size of the population or any of that, pretty good business. But I just didn't think it was. And you buy a 6 Series Beamer, then you think that's shit. You buy a Maserati, then you think that's shit. You keep, it doesn't stop. That's what people don't realise. When you're on that frigging carousel, it doesn't stop by definition because you're on that path. So that all shit itself in a massive way. All of my sort of ego entitlement status more, which is fueled by insecurity and low self-esteem, which it is with everybody. You show me someone with a $100,000 watch, I'll show you an insecure little boy because the fucking phone will tell you the time. That's the reality. Unless you are maybe an absolute watch connoisseur, which I think is bullshit for that. Like, come on, guys. The reality of it. You don't need a lot of that shit when you really get good with yourself. But I was not good.
So you were buying the watches?
Yeah, all of it, mate. All the gear, no idea, all that, right? For that very reason, status, recognition, validation, approval, to feel enough, to feel successful. But as I say, success is a feeling, not a number, because if it was a number, we'd already be there, but the number keeps growing. So, yeah, I did all that. That's why zero judgment, mate. I think why I've become a good coach, because I've done all those things. I've gone up here, like all of it. And, I didn't plan to be a coach. Like, I just was in the doing of things, creating and building of things. So, and then a few people reached out, gave me a feeling of contribution and purpose and service, which I liked. So that's kind of how it started. And the dogs were really the thing that stopped me jumping off the balcony out there. But one, we're on level 7. So I literally thought, we're not fucking high enough. So I was that fucking down. I'm like, if I jump here, I'm not going to die. I'm just going to fucking be fucked. So I'll be like a chef's salad.
That's like a terrible set, to be in.
It's terrible, mate.
How do you pull yourself out of that?
Mate, it's a great question. And I literally can laugh about it all now, and I'm with immense gratitude. And for anybody struggling, you don't appreciate the light until you've been in the dark, because how do you know it's light?
Yeah.
You can't, because you got no contrast. So, mate, the dogs, the one on the floor and the one out on the balcony, they saved my life, because I sat around that table but it wasn't like day one. Day one, it was like walk down to NA, hope a bus hits me, get to NA, not feel as bad because there's some other degenerate who's just got out of jail or fuck, you're thinking, oh, you poor bloke, oh, that's terrible. But I went from CEO to doing the roll call in NA. Jeff, addict, Yeah, fucking how good's life putting out the chairs? Like, doesn't get much. Well, you could end up in the big house in jail, but NA is pretty extreme. And so from there, it was like walking through mud for quite a while. And then over time, I just started to, I'll never forget walking along some bodgy back street here, like just the little houses and just a little street. And just like one time I'd look at it and go, this is fucking so depressing, just looking at all this. Maybe 6 months later, I'm like, how good's this? Look at this. It was the same street with the same everything, but it looked totally different. And the lens started to change because I vividly recall, a few months later, I'm like, I don't have any debt. I'm doing good work. I'm helping a few people. I got my dogs. I love my dogs. We go to the park and I go, this feels good. It wasn't like mania. It wasn't chaos. There was no fear. I was starting to get peace of mind. So I'd never had any of that. So it was like bit by inch, and then over time, and so the dogs were like, just dead set, carked out, mate, the best. Like the dogs were the absolute, animals saved my life, without a doubt, these guys. And then through that opened my heart up, I think, to things and possibilities. And then Boxing Day 2017, I happened to be on a farm, an extended family's property, and there were 2 horses that were there, not theirs, but they were being adjusted there. And I reckon I spent 90% of the time with the horses and 10% with the family. And I went, it had a profound effect on my energy and presence. And it was like meditation, but like on steroids. And I just went, well, fuck it, I'm going to get a horse riding lesson New Year's Day. I'm not going to icebergs like a year sober or whatever. I'm off to got a horse riding lesson. And I loved it. I was the most retarded person ever. And I was like 100 kilos on this horse, Thelma. Sorry, Thelma. And I loved it. I got another one and another one. I got 2 lessons a week and then kept riding, then 3 lessons a week. Then I found Glenworth Valley up the coast, trail rides, and then came back to Centennial Park and show jumping school, and they retired. And then the lady who owned it, she offered me her horse, which was still to this day like the most incredible gesture when you think about it, because she just knew how much I loved the horses. And so he became my first horse. And that's been just so special, that trust that you build. Now I've got another one as well. And here we are.
So you got the same horse that was given to you?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, 2 and a bit years now. And now this other stock horse. And it's just amazing, like the relationship that you build and everything that I'd sort of read and watched about horses and horsemen. And you think, oh, that's incredible. But I don't know if is that bullshit or real? Or but it's actually real, like and what's fascinating, as you guys know through coaching, I'm all about sort of being present and aware and awake and all this stuff, but heart rate and energy, right? And electromagnetic field, energy, horses, they can sense your heart rate. So like what I'm finding fascinating at the moment with most of my clients are successful business people like yourselves, but the same rules apply. I say flow, not force, let go to grow, the struggle's the gift. With the horses, what happens with them, again, which is the same as the stuff we all talk about, when I get myself into the right state and lower my heart rate, pardon me, the horse immediately goes, it's like magic. It is like, man, now, because I'm all about the process under the goal, as you know. So if you show me a world-class horseman, I'm going to look deep until I find what they do. And I had to go real deep because no one actually knew. Also, it's really funny, like the best horse people, because they start riding when they're 3, I've found this fascinating. They're not consciously competent. They're unconsciously brilliant. So they can't tell you as a coach what they do. They try, but they can't. So I've had to just pull it apart, and I've gone, there's got to be something in the physiology. And with all the stuff that I look at, I realised through the conscious breathing, the belly breathing, that when you breathe into your belly, you lower your heart rate if you breathe through your nose. And by the way, thanks for the education system, no one on earth ever taught us how to breathe. So we all breathe through our mouth into our chest, making us stressed and anxious. Because if you shallow breathe through your mouth up here into your chest, because everyone's walking around holding their gut in, like I watch them, like I did, you just tight tummy and whatever, you just relax your stomach, then it fills up with air. But your stomach can't fill up with air, or your diaphragm can't work if you got it sucked in. Like everyone does, right? And you tell them and they're like, fuck, I do that. Right? Everyone does that. Then you start to breathe through your nose and it's like 10 times more energizing and 10 times less stressful. And so then I've worked out with the horses, I've watched my coach, my friend, And I'm like, you breathe into your belly. Because I maybe, yeah. And I watched, she does, she breathes into her belly. Because what happened was, this is the power of being sober and observant. You can work everything out. Everything, if you're patient and look for the process, right? Apply this to business. Not what are they writing in real estate, what's their process? What are their lifestyle habits? Everyone's looking at the GCI. That's irrelevant. That's a lag measure. What do they do every day? What do they do when people aren't watching? They're the things I'd want to know. Not what they do when they accept the award. That's irrelevant. What are they doing when no one's watching? What are they doing the process under the goal? So I'm watching this girl, Bronte, and I know it was really bizarre because a few times I do a double take. I'm like, is that Bronte? Like she looked like 2 inches taller and trimmer. And then 2 minutes later, she'd be sort of like this. Because really good horse people, they spend more time riding horses than walking. So they walk like they ride a horse and they breathe into their belly. But when she gets nervous or she's meeting someone she doesn't know, starts breathing into her chest, gets taller. Wow. And I told her this, she goes, that's what I do. I do. And I draw that unbelievable. Another client of mine, he's like, how did you work that out? I know, I just keep looking until I find the answer. I don't have to win the comp tomorrow. I just want to find out what they do. So you can apply this to anything. Like this is fascinating that, and by the way, I've read about 1,000 horse riding books and none of them know, and that cooks your head worse. And good old Aussie Geoff has worked out what they all do that they don't know. So it just goes to show you can work anything out if you park ego and you love something.
Yeah. So Geoff, for something I wanted to bring up today, and just so everyone's listening, so Geoff coaches myself and Kevin on a regular basis, and something we've implemented personally for myself is what we call the bumper bar sessions, where we'll have this frequent communication so I don't go off track. But something you touched on so far, which I wanted to bring up, was the concept of success is not a destination but a feeling. Something that I've learned from our sessions, and I had it for a point at the beginning of the year, was becoming this feeling of feeling more presently successful. And something you're talking on there, which sparked my question for me, was you've been doing all this discovery with horses, magnetic fields, and energy. Can you touch a little bit about your experience from being this, Wolf of Wall Street success to Geoff Jowett present success, and what the difference is in terms of energy?
Sure, great question. So it's really interesting that, again, I think everything abides by certain universal laws or the laws that I've worked out, and that you cannot deny. Now you can have a lot of commercial success, you can make a lot of money, but if you don't do it the right way, you won't be happy, right? We all know those people. You see them at the golf course; they've got more money than God, and the greens are shit, bunkers are shit, fucking fairways are too long, too short, too dry, too wet. But mate, the only thing shit's your swing. You're swinging like an axe. Like that's what you got to look at, champ. But they're never happy. They're never happy. And they're so resentful and just bitter at the world because it broke them. Chasing all that stuff. So the old me, I was like money, go, success, more, push, outcome. Who's sold the most weight loss programs? I want to do more. I was that guy. Who's our competitors? I want to do more. All that, right? And I did, but mate, it nearly dead set killed me. And I remember living out the end of Woolloomooloo Wharf, and one morning, just looking out there, and I'm like, I'm fucking depressed. I'm fucked. But I've got everything. Everyone's like, you're living the dream, you're killing it, you're on TV every day, you're doing, but mate, I was anything but that. I was full of steroids and looked good, I guess, but mate, inside I was just dying, right? And then I just didn't feel anything like that. And then I say it's a feeling, not a number, because when you go about it a different way and you have a process focus and you get a hobby and, you've got a kitten now and you said it changed your life and animals, and I wasn't an animal person at all. I didn't have time for animals. I was too important. I'm Geoff Jowett, PA can look after it. I was that wanker. Mate, the superstar wanker, like me, Force 10, deluxe. And then for me to be the other way, it's such a really, it's quite an interesting message in that, life will soften us if we let it, and, life just gets so much better. And nowadays I say flow, not force. So if something's hard and it's not aligned, I don't do it. I'll move away. And that's why I say alignment's more important than goals. Like doing businesses and deals and working with people that you're not in alignment with is a disaster because it ruins your energy or your vibrating frequency, and that stuff's real. Quantum physics, subatomic particles vibrating, that's real. It's not gobbledygook fairy dust. That shit's real, as you guys know. And if you don't pay attention to it and understand it, it'll break you in half. So like, and I find now, like occasionally I'll make a decision that, look, I won't work with a client. It's not the right fit. And I do a bit of stuff. Saxton's, the speaker bureau, they approached me right before COVID or very shortly prior to it starting, like I think 2020, whatever. And then obviously nothing happened. Mm. And, when I make a decision not to do something or say no when it's not the right fit.
You're about to do that with me.
No, mate, don't. Week one I was, and then you had the biggest change ever. We'll get onto that in a minute. That still blows my mind, that one. But you got out of that environment and look what happened. But then you wrote 700 grand in 3 months, telephone numbers, and it just goes to show environment, vibrating frequency, energy, right? You got out of that egoic state and all the comparison and all that, and you just went whooshka, working less. Like, it's not magic, it's a thing if people understand it, but you got to get out of ego and you got to get out of comparison and entitlement and all the bullshit to be able to see it and feel it and trust it like you were and you did in a week, which still to this day is the fastest shift I've ever seen, like from literally thinking, I don't know if I can help him, because you're like, how do I double it? And I'm going, good, how do I double it? That was session one. And then a week in lockdown, I'm thinking, he's going to be fucked, this bloke. He's going to double. He's stuck at home. He'll end up in a straitjacket. Get you on the phone, you're like, I feel amazing. I'm like, what? And I realised that that's why, the energy, the environment, and we become that environment. That's why I'm so vigilant with my own. And now when I make a decision that, look, to move away from a certain relationship or whatever, it's funny, you could almost set your watch to it, like email, keynote. It's like it happens if you make the right decision based on a line. Keynote, can you do this? It's $7,000. It's like online, we'll pay you that. Boom. Yep, just happened before. Like, happens all the time. All the time. But you got to be absolutely 100% committed to what's aligned and what's not. Not nothing to do with, I'll do this to get that. That's the trap.
Yeah.
I was the king of that trap. I'll do a bit of this to get that. I'll hang out with him to get there. Trap. You do what's right, like more heart, less head. And then you just ding. You're like, mate, it's unbelievable. So I believe that they reckon, I don't know, we can see like 0.2% of, our eyes can see a very small amount of kind of the light spectrum or whatever they call it. And I just believe there's a lot more to life than just bricks and mortar and flesh and bone. And I don't profess to know, but I don't analyse the roots. I pick the fruits, as Jim Rohn said. I don't analyse I don't know, guys. Don't know. But I know that there's more to it because I do it every day. And my clients go, and they're like, I work less and I get way more. So they can't all be fluking it. One or two, but not all of them. Like it and me and everyone I help, it just can't be that much luck everywhere.
Same as Wayne. Wayne's back there doing the same thing too. Killing it.
There you go. He's on the same page.
Jeffro, is there an example for the audience where we can, either myself or Kevin, where you've seen the shift between ego-driven success mindset to where you go into that flow, not force? As an example you could share, and then what we change that.
Yeah.
This is an example.
Well, Kevin's a good example. Like, week one, he was like, it was sort of just the typical, high performing real estate agent. Just not, good bloke, but just that guy, in that space. And then in the space of 7 days, that was the gift of COVID, the lockdown, because you got out of that sort of world. And then like 7 days later, you're like, mate, I feel great. I'm just really, present. And I thought you would have cooked your head. I'm really present. And it was just a huge shift. But you'd done a lot of work on yourself prior to that. You just had to get out of the environment, and then boom, away you go. And then like you still prospect, but you do it with the right intention. Like a lot of the stuff I teach about intention. People have only got call reluctance because they've got the wrong intention. They're calling that person to get a listing, their agenda, not the person's. When you call everyone up, g'day mate, how are you? Just wanted to call and drove past that house we sold 2 years ago, thought of you, give us a buzz. You're just doing that. Because the thing is everyone's qualified. They live in a house. So don't prospect the homeless bloke or the backpackers. Everyone else is qualified. They might not be buying or selling today, but they will buy and sell. And if you're top of mind, not a pest, well, they're going to reach out. At least you're going to get a foot in the door because you've done it the right way. And the golden rule that I say to everyone, would I like that done to me? The answer is no, don't do it. Would I like a random phone call out of the blue? I get a blah, 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 get a blah, 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 weather, insert, pleasantries, compliment. Yeah, anyway, mate, look, just one, market's pumping. Mate, any thoughts of selling? Fuck off. They might not say it, but they're dead set. They're like, oh, hemorrhoid, pest. So that still works, but it's brute force. And does it work in a tough market? I don't know. Works when it's pumping because everyone's like, I can make a big earn. But it doesn't get a lot of referral business, repeat business. You don't feel great about your life having to do it. The other way, you feel great about your life, you get referrals, repeat business, heaps of it, shitloads, and you love it because you're just doing good stuff, saying g'day, boom, boom. Like we don't have to turn it into like intergalactic strategy. People live in houses. You're really good. You know a lot about them. You know what the market's doing. You're masters of your craft. That speaks volumes. They're not buying a Ducati motorcycle, so we don't need to like pre-qualify them about motorcycles. They live in a house. So a lot of that stuff, I get people to get back to the basics. That's what we stripped it right back, like Peter, your mate, and that I've worked with, and we get it right back. And then he had a record number of market appraisals in the next 7 days in a 20-year career, the next 7 days, by getting it back to just like systemize the process, humanize the experience. So we forget to humanize the experience. You systemize the shit out of it, but humanize it because you are selling and pitching to humans. So we've got to humanize the experience. He did that record number of market appraisals. And like that's the formula. And if you do it with the right intention, sowing the seeds, then they're going to sprout.
Yeah. When you're working with high achievers, where do you think a lot of them go wrong?
Oh, I think the trappings of success. Because you don't see a lot of Brad Pitts that are superstar entrepreneurs. Have you ever noticed? Apart from you two, right? Most of them have got heads like bustards, and like so. A lot of I believe, and Johnny McGrath and I, we both were talking about this once. Like, what gets you out of inertia into momentum is often fear. Fear of failure, scarcity mindset. That gets you going, so that's fine. And also low self-esteem and insecurity gets you going, fine. But if you don't transition into abundance and gratitude and whatnot, that'll fuck you. Right? But that's what gets most of them going. Hence why Brad Pitt's not there doing his, he was pretty sweet, Brad Pitt, long before he made it as an actor. So, I think that, again, I look for patterns and things like that, like what drives, especially a young man, it's normally insecurity, low self-esteem, early days, and want to build a life and all that, but that's not as powerful a drive. Like I wanted to be someone. I wanted to feel like I mattered. I felt invisible. Little bloke, average at everything, average with school, average with sport, average with the girls, jagged a few on the piss, but that was about it. I wasn't, going great guns there either. So all of a sudden I started a business and I wasn't Mr. Average anymore, and I wasn't just invisible, and I started to stand out. But then you get addicted to that feeling. That's what happens. And then it's a runaway freight train. That's generally an answer to your question. I took the long road. That's what happens. And it's knowing how to get off. So get you out of inertia, get you into momentum, but somewhere along the line you got to segue and start to build a life. As you know, I say business is a vehicle to build your life. It's not your life. But we forget that. And then what happens at about 35, almost to the day, you just like hit the wall because you've been sprinting flat stick business building work for 15 years and you're like, I am flat. Like what's going on? Why? I did all what you meant to do. Why am I flat? You don't have a hobby and you don't have a life everywhere. And that's why my message resonates, because like you just put the bullshit filter on it and it passes, because that's what happens. We go, and I'm just a dead set, brutal truth. That's what drove me in the early days. Like I did like personal training and I did like helping people, but I liked the feeling of not being invisible and feeling like I mattered and I was enough and not as insecure, and self-esteem went up with the external stuff, not the internal work. And then it just kept building on that road, and it, over time that got worse, and there wasn't enough to fill it or patch it up or band-aid it. And so it gets you going. We all do it. I did it. I'm sure there's exceptions that were perfectly awesome when they started, but they're pretty rare. And we do the work as we go, and then you can build a great life. But that's why I say to people, like, you got a hobby, room of 1,000 people, it's like no one's got any arms. Or hobby? What is that? Fucking speaking in Latin, what's that? Hobby? What hobby? No, hobby. Like you play a sport? Or, no. Because I reckon we had the best model at school. I reckon, like before, we got on the drink and all that stuff. Like we went to school, which was work during the day. We didn't necessarily love it, but we went to work. school, we come home, we played with the next door neighbours, we had a sport or, played with them in the backyard, sport, training, whatever, or we had a hobby or a musical thing or whatever. And we had balance, like we had that sort of hobby and work and all that sort of stuff, and that was great. And then you turn 17, 18 or whenever you found the devil's juice and off you go and like all that, and there go the hobbies, right? I reckon there's been plenty of promising sporting career that went down the shitter as a result of that, right? Lots of, mate, history's littered with it, right? And so you're not Robinson Crusoe, anyone who's done that. Pretty much just about everyone does it. And the tragedy is that we don't realise we had the blueprint. But, I had the gift of desperation that got me sober to realise, hang on, that was the blueprint. Like if I was only a semi-loose unit, I'd probably still be like that, and I never would have got the gifts. I say the struggle's the gift because I didn't have the gift of desperation. I could still cobble it together like a lot of people do. They still feel shithouse because I'm yet to meet one person aged 40 plus who loves having benders all the time. And it's funny because I did that in a video not long ago and a bloke reached out, good on him, and he goes, mate, I'm that bloke. But I don't love it. He goes, I don't love it.
Oh, no.
Right? He goes, I'm that bloke and it's shit.
Oh, no.
And he goes, mate, I'm still doing it. And you're right, I don't love it, but I don't know how to replace it. Because people don't know how to get rid of that and fill it up with something else. I reckon the answer to that is you've got to be playful with life. So I saw the horses, I thought I was drawn to them, so I thought I'm getting a lesson. When I tell people about that and they go, what, at 40, like I got two heads? Yes, 40. They're like, you are allowed to do new things after 25. There's no law against it. They can't process that data that I went and started that. It's beyond them. And that's the problem. They just go, well, I started that, that's me, forever, dead, diet, boom, cheers. Doesn't have to be. You can change it any time.
Yeah. Well, I'm waiting to see my physio next week to see if my knees are okay so I can go try MMA.
Oh, here he is.
So it sounds pretty fun. I thought I'd give it a crack. I need to lose this too as well, so that'll probably help a little bit.
Mate, the funny thing about MMA and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I've got a few clients that get into that, and I think it's actually really good because you're either intensely present or you get knocked out. So it's like horse riding, motorbikes.
You got to be on the ball.
So that makes you get out of your head, otherwise you get punched in the head.
Yeah,
right? So it's very, very good for that.
And you're learning your pathways are going for something new. And
that's great, mate. It's really good. I've got a bunch of clients that by chance that kickboxing, MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, all that stuff, and I'm like, that's gold. And when they suggest it, I'm like, yeah, that's good because of this.
Yeah.
Like going and laying on the beach is headcook.com. Like you're at the beach getting a tan, but you're really at work cooking your head about something you can't do that's not there.
Yeah.
So you're living in the past or the future, head cook, you're not recharging, you're draining.
Yeah.
And that's any high achiever is terrible at the beach.
Yeah.
Right? Punters, lazy plotters, whatever, they can be good there, but that's not any of my clients.
Every time I've been to the beach with my partner, I hope she doesn't hear this, but every time we're sitting there, I'm going, can't wait to leave.
Yeah,
beach.
You'd be restless as. You'd hate it. You'd hate it. It's terrible.
We're there for 2 hours. I'm like, can we go? Can we go? Yeah. And she's like, oh, we've only just got here.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's like 4 weeks. Yeah. My beautiful ex-fiance, she in Fiji quite a few years ago, and she took this photo. It's so good. And I'm out on like a charter boat, a little tinny thing out in Fiji, and I'm like, she goes, this is the greatest. She's a nurse now. She's a cosmetic nurse doing her own clinic. She's doing really well. And she's like, this is the most extreme case of undiagnosed ADHD I've ever seen. It was like I'm there. Look at the turtle. Look at this fish. I'm like, mate, how good's this? How good? There were things to look at and do and see and not just sit in the pool. But you think about this. Someone said this to me at Christmas because they've had a bit of a stint off the piss and whatnot. And they're like, you got to change how you have your holidays because going away and just at the pool on the drink, you couldn't think of anything worse if you're not on the drink. And then you actually look at it and you go, this is depressing. They just go and sit there and drink and do nothing and talk shit.
Yeah.
Everything changes, everything, because you don't want to do that. So life opens up because you actually want to live. Being drunk or hungover, I challenge, is that living? Is it numbing, escaping, existing? Definitely drinking. It's definitely intoxicated. I don't know if that's being alive in it by definition.
Yeah. And it's so funny because we talk about stopping drinking, and something that I struggle with and I'm a victim of is because of my high achiever syndrome, I'll cut the drinking, no worries, but then I'll replace it with another addictive.
Yeah, that's right.
Go run a fucking marathon
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
And then you replace that bad habit with a good habit, but then you've gone so extreme that it becomes a bad habit.
But that's so you're very hard on yourself. Like you're great because you're 24. 24 this year, right? So again, like we started a year or so ago, and made everything. You're so teachable. Where you were. I said do ABC. You went and did ABC. Then you did it's great. But this is part of it. Like I had a client this morning, and it's the same thing. Like he had a big night, felt shit, as I said, for like a month. And I said, but this is good, mate. This isn't bad because now you've got contrast. You've got to do a bit of this. I had about 78 cracks at getting off the piss before I finally did it. I had 2 years off when I was doing Channel 7. I was rocking up fucking half cut and like Dusty and big nights, Larry Emders and like, call now, body trim. These ones. I was terrible. So I got to get off the piss. But I didn't last because I didn't do any of the work on myself and I hated it. And I was like white knuckling it and terrible. But with what you're doing, I did that again, like around that time, I gave up the drink and whatnot. And then I got back into bodybuilding and 10 months later, I'm competing in Mr. Australia. Literally. 10 fucking months I'm on stage doing coming third Mr. Australia, IFBB, like full of juice, everything like.
I was going to say, how much juice was in there?
Plenty, heaps. More. More. But but again, that's extreme. So I did that, right? I went from that to that. So now, and you love my ratios. Ratios are the bumper bars, so you can't do that. But the longer you stay on this course, that sort of subsides. But early on, you'll replace that with marathon, that with that. Like that's 70, whatever it is, hard, 75 hard. Mate, the amount of people I've seen do 75 hard, then 75 loose, pretty strong. Mate, they go 75 hard and then floodgates.
It's been bad. I did 75 hard last year, and then I trimmed down, had near forming a six pack, and then the day it finished, we woke up at 5 a.m. We went straight to Macca's, hit it out, smashed junk food all day. It wasn't the alcohol that I had the issue. I never had the issue with alcohol.
It was the food.
It was the food.
And just on that, everyone's got something, right? So you might not know it, they might not say it, but everyone has got an Achilles heel. Some people it's the drink, some people it's Coke, some people it's gambling. Everyone's got something, right? The food. Food is a huge one, right? That people, if someone's obese and they're eating a salad at lunch, well, I'll give you the fucking red hot tip. They're not eating that at home on their Pat Malone. Because it's not air that's making them fat. Weight loss, this is reality. It's not, and it's not a slow metabolism and it's not your fucking thyroid. It's not. It's just not, right? Now, maybe 1 in 1,000, but it's not this, 20% of people. That's bullshit. It's dead set what's going in the pie hole at 11 p.m. That's what's going on now. But that's when I was a personal trainer when I was really young. I'd sit there and I'd listen and they go through their diet and they'd tell me, I'm like, oh, this person must have terrible fucking metabolism. Bullshit. They're lying. They're just lying to themselves, to you, they just won't own it. So people won't own it. You got to own it. You can't change. I say awareness, ownership, change. You can't change what you can't see. So awareness. Then you got to fucking own it, not deflect it, deny it, blame, own it. And that was one of the things with getting sober. Someone said to me, well, mate, you've had some big, big wins, mate. But what I learned was I was there for the fuck ups too. I'm listening to him and I respected this bloke a lot. And he's like, because that's the thing. We take the wins and the success, but then we blame someone else for the losses. I thought, fuck, that'd pretty much be me. What reality is that the wins are generally a team effort and the blunders are generally more you than you realise, right, at the time, or you care to realise or whatever. So then I stepped into that and I went, I can actually fucking hang on a sec. There's a few patterns here and I'm in them all. And since minute one on earth, I'm the only one who's been there. So that's why people like victims and blame. Well, you're the only person since second one, minute one on earth has been there for all your life. So you've played a bit of a part in it.
Yeah.
Can't be that unlucky and the world's fucked. I reckon you've been there for a fair chunk of it. So you either realise that and accept it and own it or you don't. But if you don't, your life's going to be shit forever because there's no good ending to that. So, and nothing good happens fast, and nothing to extreme. So, horses and the work I do and I just, and one big thing for people, and I've said this to both of you, if you are not full to the brim with work, radical concept, go and live a bit. Because this is most people. They're either stressed because they're too busy or they're stressed because they're not busy enough. Everyone. And then one day a year, I'm perfectly busy. Fuck me dead. But the other rest of it, they're stressed because they're too busy, too much work. Oh, mate, too much work. Oh, or not busy, a bit quiet. What a way to live. Jesus, I was like that. And then you get this moment where you're like, it's really good. And then you'd be too busy or not busy enough again. So what I tell and by the way, with the energy stuff and all that I talk about, if you have a bit of a little break in the day or it's a little bit quieter and you go and do something else, you watch what happens. More work. It's like you get rewarded. I reckon life rewards you when you're better where you are, when you play for where you are, not resenting it, not fearful, not this, not that. So when you're not as busy as you want to be and you think, fuck, I've got to be busier, well, you're going to get less busy if you do that. It just rewards you or punishes you for not being present where you are.
So, mate, just to wrap it up, like we've talked about a lot of topics today, what would you say would be the biggest tips or advice for anyone wanting to be better where they are? Energy management.
Sure. Well, you love the energy management. So I say to everyone, you got 100 energy credits a day, imagine. So you can't, it's not unlimited. And you have breakfast with a victim whinger at 7 a.m. They're going to take 80 of them and you got 20 left for the rest of the day. You're going to burn out. You're going to get triggered, eat a hand grenade, give someone a spray, and then you're going to be mopping up the mess that you caused because the victim robbed all your energy credits. So protect your energy, be ruthless with your boundaries and who gets your energy. I would say comparison's the thief of joy. So if you do that, less social media and stop looking over the fence and build your life. That's really important. And what makes you happy, not anybody else. What does success look like to you, not anybody else? Doesn't matter because they're not you living your life. And that is how you start to build the fabric and the platform of an amazing life. And it gets better and better and better, but you don't have the road bumps and these ones. It just gets better. So the better you get, the better you attract. You attract what you are, not what you want. So you get better, the people coming into your life get better. High integrity, high values, and there's alignment. If you stay on that path, you can only meet people on that path by definition because then you're not in the bushes. But if you go out in the shrubs, you're going to fucking meet all sorts of shit out there. And then it's hard to get back on the path, as we know. So you stay on the path, congruent, values alignment, you just meet better people and it gets better. So that's what I'd say. And like anybody who struggles with the 1 or 2 beers, like I did and a lot of people do, I'd say have 2 months off and see how you feel. 2 months, none of this forever stuff, just 2 months off and see how you feel. Work in 4 quarters like I teach you guys, 10 weeks on, loosen it, 10 weeks on, loosen it, like that. So you can work with intense focus and effectiveness, not sort of just stumbling through it all.
Love it.
Cheers.
Legendary.
Right.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Great to be a part of it.
Thank you.
Till next time.
Done. Cheers.